So Tramp Harbor.
Okay, so when King County gave us Tramp Harbor Park in 1995, they failed to assign to us a lease that the state holds on the aquatic section of the park.
Is that the water section?
That's the water section.
So we only own the land section?
Apparently. The King County Park Director came last week and explained this to me. So King County still has the lease. The lease expires in August.
A year ago.
This August.
This
August, the lease expires. And it has to be renewed by what they call the upland owner, which is us. So King County is going to help facilitate this transfer. I'm not exactly sure what that entails, but they were clear that the state will only renew the lease if two conditions are met. The creosote pilings are removed and the state is comfortable with the integrity of the structure.
So I would tell the aquatic portion owner to get with it, or we won't apply.
How about if we let her finish?
Well, so I discovered an engineering analysis report that was done in 2009 that Tim Lafferty had done, and of the 98, it was only done on the integrity. There was no report on the creosote findings. So of the 98 pilings, 8 were in very poor condition and needed to be replaced. There was also, I came across what looked to be a grant proposal for those 8 pilings. So my question is, what do we know of the creosote? What came of the engineering analysis? Did we replace those 8 pilings? Or what? I need information about what you guys know about the Tramp Harbor dock so I can get back with King County and figure out next steps.
Well, I always thought it would be a shame to lose the Tramp Harbor dock because it does provide a lot of access to water. We held a couple meetings. We put the word out. We encouraged people to come. I think we had a couple scuba folks show up. We had a few fishermen. We had from the Vashon Community Care Center pointing out it was a spot where they could bring people in wheelchairs. But ultimately there wasn't. We gave them very clear direction that if they wanted to see that dock preserved, they needed to start working on it back in 2009 because, at least according to Tim Lafferty, just the work that he thought needed to be done, replacing those 8 pilings, et cetera, would have been many hundreds of thousands, reaching toward $1 million.
So what if the state comes in and says, you must remove the creosote pilings?
Well, I think that could happen, and I'm interested to find out. We don't own them.
That's what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
I'd entertain a motion to give it back to the county.
Well, we don't have to give it back because we don't have it, but
no, we have the upland portion.
Yeah, we own the land. We're always going to own the land. We don't have to give that back. The history of the dock, wasn't that like a standard oil dock?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I guarantee we have 98 creosote pilings, right?
They're all creosote.
Yeah, and we probably have creosote boards on top of that, and it wasn't they didn't build environmentally, non-creosoted docks back then, and we probably have contaminated soil underneath, and all the stuff the state ferry system had to go through when it did Coleman Dock would probably be the kind of stuff they would prefer that the owner of that dock go through.
So the county removed that one down at the new marine park. That was in good condition, and they pulled that whole thing out.
Yeah, one down Docton.
The one
in
Stockton.
The one I'm on the advisory committee for, the new.
They just rebuilt it too.
They did just rebuild it.
At the marine park, and then at the glacier property, they have to replace. I don't know if they've pulled them out yet, but they have to pull out. There's like a whole thing in aquatic areas now for all the creosote pilings to be pulled out. You can't have any of that anymore.
That Tramp Harbor dock is not that old.
No, it was rebuilt about 12 years ago, 15,
More than that.
15 years ago.
What was rebuilt?
The whole top section.
The whole top of the
The
dock.
whole
Tramp
top is
Harbor?
pressure
Who did
treated.
that?
That's pressure treated wood on the top.
It's not creosote.
The top's not creosote.
Top's
No.
not creosote,
but
I would
it's
assume
under-
the framing is and the pilings
But I
are.
think
But the decking isn't.
yeah, but the underneath is what, you know, is kind of like out of compliance or will be with new aquatic rules. And so do we don't own the under part of the dock? I mean, what constitutes the aquatic part?
Everything over water,
Yeah,
Everything underwater?
yeah.
over water.
Everything.
No, I think everything underwater.
Everything underwater.
Underwater, not over.
Okay, but
So the
the
dock-
high tide line comes up to the
So-
road.
so-
DNR owns the tidelands. That's what they're saying.
Okay.
So what do we
So
do?
who owns the pilings that are holding the dock up?
We do.
No, it looks like it's the county.
Well, the county does right now, but.
The county does, and who owns the actual dock that got
Oh,
redone?
No, I don't think so. I think you guys own the
I
pilings
think we own the
and,
pilings,
and the county has a lease for the tidelands with DNR.
right.
Well, who did we get the actual dock from?
King County.
Well, then how could they give us the dock without giving us the property that it sits on? It kind of seems like those things are pretty firmly attached.
See, I see it as like when you have a houseboat, you own the houseboat, but you have to pay forage, you know,
That works though. I'm not sure that's,
Can we get someone to come talk to us at one of our meetings?
I certainly can, yeah.
Yeah,
The
we
King
should
County
probably-
guy said he'd be happy to come. I wanted to get some preliminary information from you guys, what you know about this, and give you a heads up about what's on the docket here, so.
I'd like to have this looked at by Jim. I'd like him to take a look at all the ownership documents and let us know in an executive session what his opinion is
Okay.
on who owns the dock, who owns the piling, who's responsible for remediating.
It's in our best interest not to own those pilings.
Yeah.
So I would say in any discussion, never, ever accept the view that we own the pilings.
But let's get clarity about what we technically own down there.
That's a big liability.
And then what they're trying, or, you know, talking about giving us.
Does anybody have any idea what it cost them to remove that glacier dock?
I think it was Glaciers or the Maury Island Regional Park one.
Yeah,
Maury Island is probably, I thought it was about 300 to remove it.
Well, Docton just went out to bid and got all the creosote stuff, and Docton's getting removed too under contract.
Yeah.
And I think that contract was, somewhere 300,000 to 400,000.
Okay.
I mean, disposal of creosote is not a tough deal. Creosote could go to a landfill. That's not the issue. The issue is getting somebody out here on a barge to remove them and
That would seem like a big.
figure out what you're gonna do when you remove them, if you're gonna replace them with steel poles or what you're gonna do at the same time.
Well, I think the other issue is, removing it's one thing. So let's say we remove it, we spend, 400 grand and we get nothing for it. And then put in a new dock is however much. I mean, this is a bill that I don't think the taxpayers want to foot. And I mean, this dock was a donation from Standard Oil or whatever. It's kind of the gift that keeps on giving.
Well, the Marine Park decided not to put in a dock, so they don't have a dock anymore.
I'd sure like to get it to where we construed to where the county didn't give us the
And
dock.
let's talk to council, and I think the other thing here is to work with the county. The county. I think everybody would agree that's an asset for Vashon if we can keep it, if we can get it up to speed. I mean, one concern has always been we've had zero plan to repair it and maintain it, over the next 30 years because it's just too darn expensive for the use it gets. So maybe there's a way here that we can work out something that benefits us and the county and take advantage of, whatever money is available to remediate old creosote docks. Because the problem is once that dock is gone, it's never going to be rebuilt.
Never get a permit.
If you remove all 98 pilings, it's gone.
Yeah, it's gone. And I think that would be a loss to the island myself. I've always
Yeah.
liked the dock.
But I could see the state coming by and say, whoever owns this, get it out of here.
Well, that's what they did
That's what they're doing
at
right
they call it the Maury Island Natural Area, not the Marine Park, but the Maury Island Natural Area.
Do we know if the Marine Aquatic Reserve extends under the Tramp Harbor dock?
I would think, I mean, just based on the preliminary.
It does not.
It does not.
Oh,
No. What you're going to find
I don't know
is
about
that
that.
we, the citizens of the Magical Isle, own the dock. We do not own the land underneath it, and we own the land that is tied to it.
Yeah.
But the state DNR people have a creosote remedial unit.
They have a remedial action plan.
They come out to Point Robinson twice a year, and they go along our beach, and they pick up, in particular, creosote soaked materials. So my suggestion is that as part of this examination, that Elaine talks to me, I know who the people are because they come out with us all the time, and see whether or not they would not be willing to be a part of the remedial action, which probably is going to be pulling up those pilings.
Yeah. Well, let's, you know, I think those are really good suggestions. This is an important enough thing, and if the dollars are high enough, we should know from Jim Haney exactly where we stand. And then maybe we get together with 4 or 5 organizations, the county, the state, you know, whoever else, and see if there's a way to save the dock.
How long is the lease with state DNR? How long does that last?
I have no idea.
And is there money?
Well,
associated?
this one expires in August.
Yeah, how long, when did it start?
Don't know.
So like, if it's,
Probably 25 years.
yeah, I mean, if we're thinking about spending money, we're interested in know.
The whole
Yeah,
business,
sure.
the whole business of land underneath structures, our property begins at the high water mark. And when the tide is out, all of that tide land out there belongs to Puget Sound, and we are inside the marine park area. So that's a DNR lease.
How far, just to the high water mark? Because
Our property starts at the high water mark, that's right.
It varies.
Yeah, because
Some of it, some people own
That's correct.
tidelands and some people don't.
with the
Your
one
deed.
of the natural area where the glacier dock is, that's all part of that.
Right, and
what was
Doug is
purchased.
right. Some people own the tideland, some people do not. We do not. Our neighbors were offered the opportunity to purchase the rights to the tideland, and they took that. So if you look at a map of the marine park, you'll see that our property starts at the high water mark. Their property starts way out in the water because they bought the rights to the land underneath. So it's really tricky, and that's why it's got to be figured out.
That's with the marine.
Exactly what the transfer document said.
Yeah, and that's why the marine park, when they looked at the numbers, they had to remove that creosote dock, and they opted not to construct a new dock.
Yep.
And now at the Moore Island Natural Area, they're facing the same thing. And the divers are kind of upset because they can't even anchor something down below to tie their boats on to go diving right now because there's regulations because it's part of that marine park.
All of this is part of an effort to clean creosote out of Puget Sound.
Right. And so I'm sure that this dock is targeted for that. So, but it can
My
be
only concern is when they came by and said, someone has to pay for it. We don't have the money to pay for that.
Well, and I think there's funding possibly to do that, but I mean, if the top of the dock's been repaired, it's really kind of sad because, I mean, I don't know how you remove those creosote pilings without removing
Remove the whole dock.
the whole dock. Yeah.
Well, you can remove them individually.
Sure.
They do that all the
Yeah,
time.
oh, that's done all the
That's what
time.
they do.
Sure.
for a living.
That's not an issue.
You gotta put something back in there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you do. No, I agree, but I mean, they're
Because when I read,
replaceable. They are replaceable. It just costs you money.
yeah, because the marine park, was, that dock was totally fine on top, but so anyway, they had that similar problem. They replaced.
All right. Look into that. Sounds like something that will be on a future agenda.